has been an area of my research for 15 years, right? How to use wiki platforms, and I've used every wiki platform in various ways for various projects, and I have a lot of pedagogical evidence about why and how to use it well, and I have been involved in a lot of, particularly okay, so in general, the idea of convivial learning and participatory processes and radical transparency in knowledge production is kind of theoretically what I'm interested in doing. But now I left Yale, I was at UCSD for a while. I did a couple more experiments with wiki-based platforms in pedagogy at that point, and now I'm at NYU, where again, I'm whatever. But so let me talk you through a couple of the pedagogical experiments that I've been doing. One of them is called How Stuff is Made and How It Can Change. And it's a, what I do is I ask my students to, make a list of goods. It starts with a diagnosis of, is there anything that you have on you or with you that you use every day that you can tell me how it's made and who made it? And of course, they say, well, no, there's nothing. It might be a grandmother's hand-knitted, beanie or gloves, but sort of the radical, the veil between production and consumption is in the information age is really interesting. So they make a list of 10 products, and those and they have to negotiate their way in to do a visual essay on how something is made, not as a journalistic expose, but in order to document the manufacturing process, the labor conditions, and the environmental costs involved in the production of a contemporary good, with a view to also, and this is actually really critically important to the pedagogical value, with a view to redesigning it. To improve the environmental conditions, to the labor, the environmental performance, the labor conditions, or the manufacturing processes. So, inviting them into the process of, addressing the most toxic of all our global human activities is the production and distribution of stuff, right? And who's going to redesign it, right? The ways that the demand for the kind of transparency and accountability is not achieved through, Energy Star ratings and fair trade labeling and things. The innovation required to transform how we produce and distribute goods needs to invite the next generation into this as as a real design challenge. This is a space race of the 21st century. Redesigning our food systems, our energy systems, our production systems, our distribution systems is something that is not just the purview of a few, systems engineers that I might, have. But actually, I would argue that if we could get every undergraduate once in their undergraduate academic career to document how one good is made, and to hesitate some sort of improvement, right? That they actually have to do this documentation, but also with a view to, well, how do we improve it? As opposed to this idea that it's bad corporations doing bad things and we can police with the right little labels and be a responsible consumer. And we can, and this is always the issue that I get with students is that they think, that through buying organic coffee, they can change the world, which is nice, but it's their agency, where it is that students actually have agency, is not in their purchasing power. Political power and purchasing power shouldn't be conflated, and they particularly aren't in students. It is in their creative, analytic capacity to actually go into their local bakery or coffee shop or, manufacturing, whatever they can get into, and to argue their way in. And so just to give you the quick idea of this, I mean, if we are going to take on, post COP21, if we are going to say that to invite this generation of students into redesigning our relationship to natural systems, changing how something we're all complicit in, something that corporate responsibility is not responsible for. They can't, by definition, they can't do the kind of radical innovation that is required, right? They're caught up in sustainability logic. But I know that, I started this assignment 15 years ago, right, at Yale. Right. So in my case, the reason why I know it works pedagogically very well is because I know it's very hard. It's very hard as a faculty to maintain, particularly wiki platforms, for all sorts of reasons. And every time it comes down and I redo it, I get emails from students from a decade ago, from 15 years ago, saying, I was trying to show somebody my assignment and my essay and it's down, right? What's happened? And so I know that they're still contributing. They're still, they've contributed something to the information content.